So that's the finale of the opera Wunsch Schweig by Arnold Rosner, recorded at Merkin Hall in 2005. Arnie was a dear friend of both of us, and he passed away just a few months ago, so he couldn't be here, but his music is here. And that play, Wunsch Schweig, of course, the title role was played by Jack Guilford, as I recall.
It was, yeah.
I think he did it literally a little bit different. It wasn't a hot roll with butter, it was a hot roll with butter,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It was very moving, yeah.
And now let me introduce all of you to our guest, Sheldon Harnick, who's here. So we're thrilled to have him. Bruce and I were talking about who's known you longer. I think I have.
I think you have.
I actually wrote to you in 1983, right after I conducted Fiddler in Berlin, and I was writing to you particularly about this recording that I had been given by Gerhard Bronner in Vienna of the German translation of a song that was cut from Fiddler, so it wasn't in the score. And I wrote to Sheldon, and he wrote me back, I still have this, I should frame this, or at least laminate it. December 30th, 1983, dear Mr. Lehrman, here's When Messiah Comes, the number that was cut. Also, I received a copy of your letter to Jerry Bach, and I accept honorary membership in the Jüdische Musiktheaterverein Berlin. Regrettably, my schedule won't permit me to attend your opera. Happy New Year. I had an opera done in New York in January of '84. So that's how long we know each other. And before the hour is out, we're going to do a version of that song. Helene and I have decided that, I mean, we've done it on 4 continents as solos, but we're going to do it as a duet for you for the first time. Okay. I found in the library at NYU this wonderful recording that you made at the 92nd Street Y in February of '71.
Yeah.
You sang that song and many others. It's not available on YouTube.
No.
I mean, you can access it and it says, not available on iTunes yet. So that particular song that was cut. But let's talk a little bit about the genesis of Fiddler. This is a marvelous book that I waded through. You wrote a terrific blurb for it. I guess you loved it too. And
she interviewed me. She interviewed everybody she could connected with the original production and subsequent productions. Her research was extraordinary.
It's Wonder of Wonders by Elisa Solomon.
Yeah, and what I didn't expect about the book is that the part about Fiddler is only part of it. The whole first section of it has to do with prior productions of shows, plays and operas or whatever that were based on Tevye's Daughters.
Right.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
There was one in 1927 in Moscow starring Solomon Mikhoels as Tevye. And in fact, I made some copies of the pictures of him in that production because next week we're going to be talking about him. There's an opera about him that was written by Bruce Adolph, who will be
Really?
here. Yes. And in fact, you know who Mikhoels' interpreter was when he came to America and spoke? My mother.
Oh.
In Boston, she was 20. Yeah. So the whole story of Tevye, I mean, and there's also the Maurice Schwartz film, which I gather inspired Jerry Robbins and you to some extent.
No, Jerry Robbins' research, like Lisa Solomon's, was just endless, and he found this. I think it's a Russian film, isn't it? The Maurice Schwartz.
It was made in Jericho, actually.
Was it?
Yeah.
Anyway, he found that, we watched it, and realized that the tone of it was so perpetually dark that it was not of much use to us, or much interest. We didn't want to do anything that dark.
I remember in the 2004 revival, I spoke with you in public about something that I saw in that film that so moved me, which was that when Chava is lost to Tevye, he rends his garment.
Mm-hmm.
Remember what you said?
No.
I suggested that maybe David Laveau might do that in your production, and you said, "Oh, the expense of the costume." I remember that. Yeah, but anyhow, but Arnold Perl is actually given some credit. Special arrangement with Arnold Perl is one of the credits.
We had to. Arnold Perl is a playwright, and he had written a play called in 3 acts. Each act was about one of the daughters. And if you only saw one act, you would have no idea that there was a family, because there was Tevye and there was the daughter, and that was it. So we saw that, Joe Stein and Jerry Bach and I was playing at the Carnegie Hall Playhouse. It was downstairs at Carnegie Hall. And we decided in our show we wanted to have the family present as much as possible. Arnold Perl, we had no idea that Tevye's Daughters was still in copyright. We thought that it had been written so long ago that it would be out of copyright, but it was protected by copyright. And Arnold had negotiated with the publisher and he had the rights to it. So Arnold was convinced that what we were doing was based on his plays. And our playwright, Joe Stein, kept arguing with him, saying, no, it's not. And finally, Joe did the sensible thing. He sent him a copy of our script. And when Arnold read our script, he said, oh, this is not based on my play. Although Arnold's wife, being very loyal to Arnold, kept insisting that it was based on Arnold's play. At any rate, they worked out an arrangement where Arnold would participate in the royalty scheme, and he would give us the rights to do the show. So every time you see a poster of Fiddler on the Roof, underneath it says, by special arrangement with Arnold Perl. When they were looking for a formula of what to say, I suggested, by special arrangement with Arnold Perl, may his bones be broken.
Oh, that's terrible. You have to say it in Yiddish. Do you have a Yiddish background?
No. No, Yiddish was the secret language. When there were secrets to tell in our house, they were told in Yiddish, so we never understood them. And my mother's Yiddish was not very good anyway. It was really mostly American with a Yiddish with a Jewish accent.
Well, the amazing thing about Fiddler is that it's so universal. I mean, when we did it in Berlin, our Tevye affected a Yiddish accent now and then, but I know that Jerry Robbins wanted to avoid that as much as possible. In fact, there's one particular spot that I think in some ways maybe works better in German. When Tevye talks about Perchik, he says he really likes him, he's a Mensch.
Mm.
And that's the German word, Mensch, and it's a Yiddish word. When he says in English, he's a person,
Yeah.
I think half your audience doesn't know what they're talking about.
Who directed it in Germany? Was it the opera?
Karl Fiebach, the Theater des Westens. Well, that was in West Berlin.
Ah.
In East Berlin, it was Walter Felsenstein.
Because Felsenstein, I knew Felsenstein's reputation, and one day Jerry Robbins called Joe Stein and Jerry Bach and me. He said, come over to the apartment. Walter Felsenstein is coming over. We said, why? He said he wants to do Fiddler in East Germany, and the authorities are fighting on him. They don't want it done. And Robbins helped to get the production done. The authorities were so convinced there were going to be riots that the opening night there were police lining the walls of the theater. And so we asked, Felsenstein wrote Robbins, and he said, it was a production like any other production anywhere. People laughed, people cried, people applauded. There was no riot. They accepted it as what it was.
Except, as Elisa points out,
Yeah.
the Soviet ambassador suggested that they eliminate the word pogrom and the word Kiev. And I saw that production the year I was in Berlin, conducting it in West Berlin, and it was still running. I think it is still running. The difference between the two productions is at the end of the West Berlin production, Tevye says to Sprinza, be careful, we're not yet in America.
Mm-hmm.
And in East Berlin, it was, wir sind noch nicht da. We're not yet there. Didn't mention America. Yeah.
Oh,
And of course, when it was done in Israel, and with the film, then it became a question of not coming to America so much as maybe going to the Holy Land, or
Yeah.
they didn't call that Holy Land,